Concept heroes that should be added to Marvel Rivals. One thing a lot of players complain about are the lack of villains, and a great place to start with that is the Sinister Six. The original Sinister Six includes Dr. Octopus, Mysterio, Electro, Kraven the Hunter, Sandman, and Vulture. But of course, there's still many more Spider-Man villains like Venom, Green Goblin, and Rhino. The only one we have in-game is Venom, and there's a lot of fan-made versions of these characters you can find all over the internet. But when you look at the Marvel Rivals roster, you see a lot of DPS characters, which is by far the most versatile group of characters in the game, and having more tanks in the game would influence people to play that role more, because I've been playing Magneto Thor since release, and it would be awesome if they added someone new. I know Devil Dinosaur is recently added, but he was a permaban for his first entire season, and now he's nowhere near as good as he was before. If I were to add a tank, I'd probably go with Dr. Octopus, just because he seems like a character that would be really fun to use, and there's tons of different abilities that you can come up with, like being able to grab enemies towards you, climbing up walls, choke slamming, so tons of unique things you can do with him. I will say though, I am a fan of how they add unknown characters. Like, I had no idea who Devil Dinosaur was, so it's pretty awesome that they're adding characters like these. But at the same time though, the game has been out for over a year, and all we have is like Venom, when there's so many awesome characters that can be added. Like, I'm sure they have prototypes of these characters already. My second choice for a character would be Green Goblin, but he would probably be a duelist just because of his movement, and it's unlikely that we're getting him anywhere in the near future just because he has a glider, and I just don't know how that would work for a game like Marvel Rivals. But the good news is that next season we are getting a Vanguard, which is the Hood. Jubilee already has a team of him in game, and hopefully we'll get to play him without him being permaban for an entire season, because it seems like it could be a very common trend where they add a new hero just for them to be super overpowered and then they get nerfed to the ground. It's already happened many times with Black Cat or Devil Dinosaur. But if they were to add the Sinister Six, this is where I would put each member and what role they would be. For Vanguard, I would have Rhino, Dr. Octopus, and Sandman, and possibly even the Lizard, just because there's different versions of him where he's monstrous and other ones where he's smaller wearing a lab coat. For Duelist, I would have Kraven the Hunter and Electro, and for support, I would have Mysterio, and once again, maybe the Lizard, depending what version you want to do. And with the new Spider-Man movie releasing soon, this is the perfect time to do it. However, a lot of players say that they can't add them in-game because of the lore, and it wouldn't make any sense. But for me personally, I don't really care about all that. I just want to have fun with the game, but I'm sure they can work around it somehow. Now I want to show you some more fan-made versions of these characters and see which one would look best in-game, starting with Vanguards. The first one I want to show you is Dr. Octopus. This one here is the best example that I found. This definitely looks like something that the Marvel Rivals devs would add, and I love the design of this one, from the arms and the claws to his goggles. 10 out of 10 design. The next Dr. Octopus design I found is this one here. This one's pretty cool too, but I think the first one suits him a lot better in my opinion. But I would rate this one like 7 out of 10. This was the only Rhino skin I was able to find, and I think this suits him perfectly. I think the overall design looks great. I'm not a fan of any machine versions, and I think if Rhino were to be added, I think something like this would be perfect. The next one is Sandman. This is by far the best one I found. If he were to be added, I think he would be an awesome brawl tank, and I love how this design has his iconic green striped shirt. Honestly, I think this might be a 10 out of 10. Next, I got the Lizard. I've seen some people say that he should be a support, while others say he should be a Vanguard, so I found one example of both. This first example here, he's wearing a lab coat, which does mean he's a smaller version of him, so this could be the support one. Not sure how he would heal teammates, but I still think this design overall looks really good. This is a Vanguard version I found of the Lizard. This one here, he has a weapon. I'm not sure how well that would fit his character, especially in this game, but it's still a very interesting design. If he were to be added, would you want him to be a Vanguard or a support? For the first Duelist, I really like this Electro one that I showed earlier in the video, and this is really the only one I was able to find, but I think this one is perfect. It fits Marvel Rivals really well with the cartoony design, but we already have Storm and Thor in the game, which both have electric power, so it'll be interesting how they would differentiate him. I think Kraven the Hunter would be the second DPS they should add out of this. However, of all the Spider-Man villains, he would rank towards the bottom. I think there's a lot of other characters I prefer over him. I think most people would agree with that. There's enough DPS characters in the game already. However, this skin is the best one I found so far, so if they were to add him, I would go with something like this. Now for support, I think Mysterio would be pretty awesome to have. I don't think he has any actual powers, but instead he uses things like drones, special effects, and chemicals to trick his enemies. So for example, he could have his drones heal teammates or chemicals heal your team, as well as give enemies illusions. So he's probably the most creative character that they can have, and one of the most underrated, I think. Now for the second support, I've seen a lot of people say the Lizard, which he is a doctor, so I guess that makes kind of sense, but I'm not sure how he would heal teammates because he's more of a brawl character, more physical abilities like jumping and grabbing people. But he also has a healing factor too. He can regrow his limbs. So this is the only one I'm really decisive about, because if I had to choose him or Mysterio to be a support, I think Mysterio would make more sense to me. I'm going to have the creators of these concept characters in the description if you want to check out more characters. But out of the Sinister Six, I think I would want Doc Ock and Mysterio the most. But anyways, if you made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing. Have a great one.